I'm excited today to talk to you about two very important things that are going to make a big difference for your business. The first is I'm going to go through with you, and today together we're going to complete the quarterly strategic action plan. And then the second item that I want to talk to you about is the upcoming January 26th through 28th Owner Independent Company Conference in San Diego. And that's going to be super important for every single one of you to attend. Okay, so let me talk about the quarterly strategic action plan. So, the quarterly strategic action plan, it fits into what we like to call the Maui quarterly flow of coaching. And there's kind of three parts to this. First of all, we ask you as a client to do a quarterly review towards the end of each quarter. Some of you have heard us talk about this idea of like best next time. It's a way to capture your lessons, both the very positive things that you want to repeat again and continue doing, and also those next times, those things that you want to improve on and make better next time. Well, the quarterly review is like that on steroids. It's an excellent way to review the quarter. So I challenge every one of you to complete a quarterly review roughly at the end of the quarter. And then after you've done that quarterly review, that's the best time to then focus on your quarterly strategic action plan. And that's what I'm going to talk today about. And then lastly, after you complete your action plan, you'll see the little arrow, these feed into each other. Then you're going to work on executing it, especially with weekly big rocks. Each week, you're going to ask yourself, can I take something from my action plan and focus on it this week? So now the quarterly action plan. To do this, in the email that this video was sent out with, we provide you links to two documents. One is the quarterly strategic action plan, and that's a 4-page tool. So I'd like to ask you to print that out and have a hard copy of that to work with. Now, we obviously have the strategic action plan online as well, and some of you that feel like, I got this nailed, I really know exactly what I need to do, you could skip and go ahead and just enter everything online. But I find it very, very useful to just go through the process. And yes, I'm repeating myself. I'm doing it in writing, handwritten, but you'll get a better result if you do it this way. Take just a little more time for most of you. And then the second item that we have a link in the email this video came with is called the Limited Factor Leverage Tool. This is a great tool that you're going to use in just a little bit in this quarterly action plan. So go ahead and pause the video for a second and print out both of these documents so you have them available. Okay? So I'm assuming you paused and you have both of those documents available. If not, go ahead and stop the video and print out both those documents because you will be using them. So if you look at that document that you've printed out, you'll see there's several steps. There's 3 steps in this process. Step 1 is we're going to look at, hey, what business are we building and our starting point. So this is a future look at what do I really want to build. I'm going to take time to think about that. We're all busy in our businesses, but I'm going to take time once a quarter to revisit what am I really trying to build, what direction am I heading, and how far from that future that I want to build am I, my starting point right now. That's step 1. Step 2, we're going to do the SWOT analysis. And we're going to, from that, also determine what our biggest limiting factors are. This is another way for us to strategically plan out our business. And you'll notice these arrows, they feed in. These 2 steps are early steps that are going to lead us to step 3, where we actually now have a plan for this quarter. What do we want to strategically do in our business? And again, all of us unless we're all the way at level 3 and are no longer actively in our business, we all are working in our businesses still. But what do we need to strategically do to move it forward? And this is an exciting thing because most business owners don't take time. They just are always working in their business. So this is going to be key for you to do this process. So let's go over, actually, let me jump over to the document. Go ahead and pull up the quarterly strategic action plan tool, and you'll see step 1. And the first step, we're going to capture our 5 biggest victories for the quarter. This is really important because us as business owners, we need to have our motivation high. We need to have our confidence high. And we need to take time to celebrate our victories. We need to do that with our team members and celebrate the victories. So we're going to list those out. Then we're going to list our 3 biggest lessons for the quarter. Lessons, challenges, problems, they really are lessons if you can capture them, and they'll help you move forward. Usually we can come up with those a little bit easier. And then the third on my list here is my deepest drive, this number 3, to grow our business. So take a minute and say, why are you creating your business? I know for me, freedom is very important, and I also want to be able to give and live extremely generously. So those are some of my deepest drives for my business. So what I want you to do is go ahead and pause the recording, and then I want you to list your 5 biggest victories, your 3 biggest lessons, and your deepest drives to grow your business. So stop now and fill out those things. Okay, you did this, right? If not, pause again the video, because you'll notice this is a strategic action plan. This is not just theoretical, but this is your business, and you need to take the time to strategically plan it. So take the time if you haven't already done that. But I'm going to trust that you have. Okay, so let's go on to the next point here. We're now at step 4. We're talking about this idea of what business are we building? And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to pick a date. Now, I want you to pick an exact date. So as an example, you might choose typically 3 to 5 years. I would strongly encourage you at least 2, but typically 3 to 5 years out. So let's say we picked December 31st, 2020. So that's about 3 years from now. So go ahead and put in that date. And then I want you to think about quantitatively. So things that you can measure. What would be some examples of what you want your business to be? It could be the size. Like you're probably going to have something in there about revenue, about profit. It may be the number of locations you have. What are the things that are measurable that are important to you? And then below that, you'll see qualitatively. These may be a little bit harder to measure and count. It could be your brand recognition. It could be that your team, you have several key team leaders of your business pillars. Maybe you have 3 of your business pillars run by other people besides yourself. But qualitatively, what would you like your business to be, again, by that time in the future? And for this example, we use December 31st, 2020, but pick the date you want. And then you can list your role in the business. You may continue to be active in the business. I've talked to some people that their goal is they want to be at level 3 and retire, or just periodically check in on the business. So where do you see your role in the business at that time? Now, after you've done that, then what we're going to do is we're going to put in today's date and go ahead and type in the actual date, and then the exact same items you listed. So in step 4, if I listed I want a profit of $1 million by 2020, then where am I at today on profit? So straight across here, go ahead and put in the same exact measures and where you're at today. So here's kind of an example. That's the target we're looking for. That's step 4. And then here's an example of one company. So they chose 20 million in sales. That was their target. Well, they're at $10 million today. They want to get to $3 million profit. Well, today they're at $1 million profit, and so on. So go ahead and pause right now and take time to plan out where you're at. And the difference between today's date and the future, that's called the gap. So this is called a gap analysis. Where am I at from where the company I want to build and I'm planning on building, my target is? So go ahead and stop the recording right now and fill out that step 1, parts 4 and 5. What business are we building and the current starting point? Okay, go ahead and pause. Okay, great. This is exciting because, it gets your juices going to think about, what am I building? I'm putting a lot of time and effort in. I could have just got a job, but I have that entrepreneurial spirit, and this is what I'm working on building. And I'm so proud of you to take time to do this. So now let's go to step 2. You've completed step 1. You've done the gap analysis from where you want your company to be, the future you want compared to where it's at today. The difference is your gap. Now we're going to look at a second way of strategically planning out your company. And this step is called the SUIT analysis. And the SUIT just simply stands for the strengths of your company, the opportunities, the obstacles, and the threats. And so what you're going to do right now, it's pretty simple. You're going to take time to list what are your top 5 business strengths. Maybe it's your brand, your sales expertise, the product or service you offer. Maybe your reputation is key. You have some special way of doing things. Go ahead and list your strengths, your opportunities. Maybe there's a chance to expand your business, to go to a new location, or to offer a new product, or to do a joint venture, or to have a new marketing program that you think could really grow your business. So what are your biggest opportunities right now? And then obstacles. Hey, we all have obstacles. Maybe you have a hole in some of your key hires. You're lacking a key person in finance. You're lacking somebody in marketing. Maybe you're trying to expand to a new location, but you need to crack the code for how to do it in that different market. But what obstacles are you facing? And again, generally these come easier to us. What's going wrong, or what are the challenges? And then lastly, the threats. What could harm you, or even worst case, close you down if you don't do something about it? Maybe it's some regulatory threat. Maybe right now there's not a big threat on the horizon, but what is a threat to you? Maybe there's a customer concentration. Wow, I have 70% of my businesses with one customer. That's definitely a threat. What happens if you lose that? So I want you to pause right now and take about 10 minutes. Some of you may already be in touch with this. And again, we're going to do this each quarter. So a lot of these things will stay the same. As you do this each quarter, your strengths are probably going to remain fairly consistent. You continue to build on your strengths, while the opportunities, those will come and go. And your obstacles, again, those will change over time. And your threats, again, hopefully as you address your threats, those may change over time as well. But go ahead and pause now and take around 10 minutes to fill this out for your business right now. Okay, great. So you just did your SUIT analysis. You took time to think about what your strengths were, your opportunities, your obstacles, and your threats. Most people don't do that. They just work in their business. So great job doing that. If you didn't do it again, pause and do that. So now I'm going to jump over to the biggest limiting factor. This is a great concept. At every time in every business, you always have limiting factors. Things that if I had more of this, I could have more business. I could have a better business. I can enjoy my business better. And so if we can think about our number one biggest limiting factor, that's really going to help us move our business forward. So a great key to do that is to think about, well, what are the pillars of my company? So if I think about the process and I think about marketing, do I have enough leads? Yeah, I have enough leads. Well, how am I doing converting the leads over to my sales pillar? You know, that's really the issue. I have enough leads, but I'm just not converting the leads. Or if it wasn't that, is it operations? Well, I got all the sales, but I just don't have enough operational capacity to deliver this product or service. Or if it was the finance pillar, I got all those things, I just am short on cash. I have to work on that. So think of the different pillars. But here's the challenge. If you stop there and you think about my biggest limiting factor is sales, you're not going to know what to do. Hence, you need to narrow your focus. So that's where you jump over to this limiting factor leverage tool. And the thing I love about this tool is it just helps you to narrow down the focus. Okay, so I was talking with a client who had way too big of a limiting factor. It was limited to marketing and sales. But even if it was just marketing or sales, and they said it was sales, it's still too much to deal with. So this limiting factor discovery tool, I say, okay, if it's sales or lead conversion, let me check the boxes. Which of these apply? And then maybe many of them apply. Okay, great. I'm going to choose one of these. Which do I think would make the biggest difference? And I would encourage you, get advice from your coach. I'm sure he or she will have idea. So with the client I was talking with, it was you don't have a defined sales process to lead prospects through clear stages to close the sale. Do you see how you can do something about that? So narrow your focus, use this tool, become familiar with it. So what I'd like for you to do in just a moment is you're going to choose your number one biggest limiting factor, and you're going to use this limiting factor discovery tool to narrow the focus. And then once you've listed that, let's say it was, I need a sales system to convert leads and to lead customers through. Well, what I want you to do now is brainstorm 10 to as many as 15 or more ways that you could potentially push back that limiting factor. So what would be some brainstorm ideas? Maybe I need to get some advice. Maybe I need to, is there an expert I should talk with? But go ahead and brainstorm whatever ideas you have. And then after you have brainstormed at least 10 ideas, then I want you to go through and think for each of those ideas, is that idea low-hanging fruit? i.e., it's pretty easy to do. If it is, go ahead and click the low-hanging fruit. Do that for each of them. For item number 2, is it low-hanging fruit? Yes or no? Is item 3? Yes or no? After you've done it for all of the items for low-hanging fruit, then go back for all of those potential ways and do the same thing for home run. Well, if this is successful, this could be a home run. A home run meaning, wow, it could have a big result. And then let's say number 1 was both low-hanging and a home run. The intersection of those two where I have low-hanging and home run, that's a sweet spot. And that's something that I'm going to use definitely for my step number 3 in this action plan. So go ahead and circle that if the idea number 1 was both low-hanging fruit and a home run. Go ahead and circle that. So stop right now, use the limiting factor discovery tool, list out your biggest limiting factor, and most of you know what it is. You know, man, I need more of this. And then list at least 10 ideas to push that back, and then run through this sweet spot analysis and see if any of them are low-hanging fruit and home run at the same time. So go ahead and pause and do that. If you're ambitious, maybe you have an idea for your second biggest limiting factor. You can do that as well. Okay, great. So this is a powerful, powerful tool. And here's the reason why. In your strategic action plan each quarter, you're going to get to choose what you're going to include in your action plan, but you're always going to include the biggest limiting factor. And then you're probably also going to look at your opportunities. Maybe there's some opportunity you want to pursue. You may have an obstacle you need to deal with. You may have a threat you want to address in your action plan. So the step 2 is a key part of helping you with complete your action plan in a strategic way. Okay, so now we're here on step 3 in the quarterly action plan. And as I mentioned a minute ago, focus area 1, I want you to pick whatever your biggest limiting factor was. Again, that came from step 2. And actually, if you did the quarterly review, you also went through this process with the limiting factors. So if you're going to have a focus area 2 and 3, then you probably want to choose one of the following. Your second biggest limiting factor if you had one. Or you could seize your biggest opportunity. Or you could mitigate your biggest threat. And again, that comes back from step 2, the work you just did. So that's the first step with step number 3 is I'm going to choose my focus areas. Okay, so again, I'm going to choose my focus area 1, and if you want to, you can have 2 or 3 focus areas. The reason I say if is the closer to earlier level 2 you are, the less people you have to do this action plan, to take all this action. You might think about 1 or 2 focus areas. If you have a bigger team, I'd push you to do all 3 focus areas. So I've now chosen the focus areas, and you'll notice bullet number 2 here, criteria of success. This is one of the most important things I cannot emphasize enough that you take time to do. So let's say focus area 1 was, I want to create a system for my sales process. My criteria of success is going to be, let me envision now, if I'm doing this again for Q1 of 2018, let me envision I'm now at the end of Q1 2018, so it's March, end of March 2018. What would have to happen for me to be happy with my progress on creating that system for my sales process? And I want to write down several things that describe that success. I'll show you an example in just a minute. But the key thing is, begin with the end in mind. Think about what you want your end result to be for this focus area before I jump into the action steps. I found in anything I do, if I clearly envision what I want to get done, then I can jump over to what do I need to do to get there, step 3. But do not start with step 3. Choose your focus area, then your criteria of success. After you have clear criteria of success, that you could say, yeah, if all those things happen, I'll be happy with this progress. Then you can jump to your action steps. So let me show you a few examples. So here's an example of someone that said, I want to implement and test a marketing tactic. And in this case, their marketing tactic was they want to have some professionals, other professionals in the industry, refer them. So they want to have a system for that. So they said, well, their criteria of success was, let me establish success criteria for this test because I'm going to test this out. Let me have clear tracking in place. And if the tactic is a winner, then I want to formally UBS the tactic. In other words, I want to kind of have a version 2 of that. So that was their view of clear success. After that, then they jumped over and they decided action steps. And you'll notice I highlighted a few things here. Version 1. we need to give ourselves the ability to create a draft version before the final version. So just by putting version 1, it frees me up. You'll notice also a formal check-in. A lot of times if I'm taking activity, if I just schedule a check-in, it's going to help me mid-process decide what to do. Here's a few other examples you can pause and look at just to give you an idea. And right now it's more about learning the skill than this will apply to you. Here's an example of feed your winners, starve your losers. You'll notice a few things. I have that formal check-in again. Discuss findings with your leadership team and your Maui coach. That may be appropriate for some of your action steps. Here's one last sample I'll show you. Here's making a strategic decision. And you can look again here just to get some ideas of the types of things you're going to do. Your action plan will not be exactly like this, but this is just a few examples. So what I want you to do is, in a minute we're going to do that. After you've gone through the action steps, then you'll notice there's this key thing called who and when. You need to put an owner by each of these items. In this case, poor Tina is going to do all of it. Is there somebody else besides Tina in your company that can do this? And then we're going to put the dates on and choose the dates. So go ahead and pause right now, and I'd like you to work on this last step of your action plan and review this with your coach. And again, a lot of the stuff comes from step 2. This is all building on each other. So you've chosen your focus area, you work on your criteria of success, and then you do your action steps. After that, assign who's going to do it and when. So go ahead and pause and do that right now. Okay, great. So you just did step 3 of the quarterly action plan. The last thing for you to do is go ahead and enter this online into the Maui app, and then send and discuss with your coach and your team. And then lastly, each week, how can you complete an action step as a big rock this week? If you do this, you're going to strategically move your business forward. Congratulations on doing this.